They didn't respond at all. You sent your dispute letter, you got your green card back, and the debt collector just didn't bother to respond to you at all. Not one sheet of paper, not a phone call, not a letter, no nothing. Just no response. What do you do next? My name is Michael Wasylik. I'm one of the lawyers here at Ricardo & Wasylik here in Florida, and together with my partner, Jason Ricardo, I help people just like you overcome debt collection with dignity. And today I'm going to tell you what you need to do when a debt collector fails to respond to your dispute letter, when they send nothing back at all. The lack of response is a common complaint I hear when a consumer sends off a dispute letter to a debt collector and they get ghosted. They get left on red. There is no response. There's no validation forthcoming. And they're wondering, isn't the time up? Don't they have to respond? What do I get to do if they don't? Are they breaking the law? Most of the time when a debt collector fails to respond to your dispute letter, it's because they don't have to. Let me break it down for you piece by piece. Let's talk about that first category, actual debt collectors. People or companies who meet the definition of debt collector in the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Now, they are not required to respond to a dispute letter. Let me say that again. They are not required to respond to a dispute letter. There is no time limit. There is no requirement for any response at all. But they must stop collecting until they give you a response that meets the requirements of law. That means validation, verification, whatever word you choose to use. That usually means they have to send you an account statement or account summary detailing who you are and the amount you owe. If they don't give you that verification of the debt, they must stop collecting. And what often happens when a debt collector gets a dispute letter like this, they know that you're going to make trouble for them, and they actually sell the debt on to the next debt collector or back to the original creditor. They choose to stop collecting entirely rather than try to respond to you. And that is usually a good sign, and it means you're on the right track, because if they are choosing to stop collecting, it means they are afraid that they can't provide you the verification you've asked for. So what about original creditors? Well, under federal law, original creditors are excluded from the coverage of the FDCPA. And so the validation and verification requirements in that law don't apply to original creditors, meaning there is no requirement that they respond at all. Now, depending on what type of creditor it is, they may have some other obligation to give you information about your account with them if that account is still with them. But under federal debt collection law, an original creditor does not have to respond, and that's why you're not seeing anything back from them. If you sent a dispute letter to an original creditor, they don't have any duty to respond to you at all. What about credit bureaus? Well, if you send a dispute to a credit bureau, they do have a requirement to respond to you. When a credit bureau gets a dispute letter from a person whose credit report contains inaccurate, obsolete, or incomplete information, the credit bureau has a duty to reasonably investigate that dispute and then either fix the error, if there is one, delete the material if it can't be verified, or if they verify it as correct, they can keep it there. But in every case, they will respond to you, send you an updated credit report telling you what, if anything, they did to fix the problem. Now, they may not come right out and say, we did this and did that, but they might show you the brand new report, which reveals to you what they did on that specific account. So if you have a credit bureau and they never responded to your dispute letter, they are likely breaking the law. And this one would be the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the FCRA, which applies specifically to credit bureaus and credit reporting. So what about medical debt? A lot of people have questions about medical debt. They get bills for things they thought were covered by insurance. They get billed for services they don't think they received. And so they're wondering, how do I dispute a medical debt? A medical provider does have to respond to your request for information. If you have a medical bill and it comes from a medical provider, you can request copies of your billing records and all of your medical records for everything that medical provider did for you. Under HIPAA, which is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, you have a right to your own medical information, and that includes billing records. So if you think a medical provider has billed you for something you didn't get or should have been covered by insurance, you can go through all your medical records, see all the treatments you received, you can link them up to your billing records, and you can match them one by one, make sure that everything you are being billed for was actually provided, and you also have a right to see how the insurance paid for each of those items. Healthcare providers are very attuned to HIPAA, and they know they need to comply. So if you send a request to a medical provider that gave you services or claims to have given you services, and you ask for your medical records and your billing records, they have to give those things to you. I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description to a government infographic about your rights under HIPAA so that you know what your rights are and you know how to enforce them. So if you sent off a dispute letter and didn't get a response, now you probably have a better idea why, or at least you have a better idea what to do about it. If you are disputing something with a debt collector and you haven't gotten a satisfactory response, you think they're overcharging you, you think they're lying to you or misleading you, or if you are being billed for something by an original creditor or a healthcare provider for something you didn't get, or you have inaccurate information in your credit report that's causing you harm, you have rights and you have ways to enforce those rights. And if you're in Florida, we can give you Florida help for Florida cases. I'll put a link in the description below on how to do that. Now, if you want to know more about what you can do when a debt collector is breaking the law, how you can enforce your legal rights, I'm going to put a link on screen now to a video that's going to explain everything you need to know about how to hold a debt collector responsible when they break the law. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.